All right, so you're thinking about learning to code in 2024, huh? Awesome.
It's a great time to jump in.
We got this stack of articles here.
Oh, yeah.
Especially this one excerpt from Which Programming Language is Most in Demand in 2024.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, just looking at the list of languages can be a little intimidating, right?
For sure.
But
absolutely.
Don't worry, that's what we're here for.
That's right.
Think of this deep dive as your secret decoder ring.
Ooh, I like that.
For not just what's hot,
Right.
but why, and more importantly, what it all means for you on your coding journey.
It's like walking into a candy store full of possibilities.
Exactly.
But instead of sugary treats,
right,
we've got powerful tools just waiting to be used.
But how do you pick the right flavor right?
Yeah.
So before we even get to the top languages everyone's buzzing about, let's talk about this whole trend thing.
Okay.
Why do programming languages seem to go in and out of style like some kind of tech fashion show?
Well, just like fashion trends in tech are often driven by what's happening in the world around us.
Okay.
New technologies emerge, industries evolve, and even global events can shift the landscape.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It's all about supply and demand, really.
Okay, so it's not just about some arbitrary popularity contest.
Right.
There are actual forces at play.
Absolutely.
Can you give me an example of how those trends are playing out right now in the tech world?
Right.
Something that would directly impact our listeners who are thinking about learning to code.
Absolutely. Look at the explosion of AI and machine learning.
Oh, yeah.
It's not just a buzzword anymore.
Right.
It's transforming industries left and right.
For sure.
And that's why you see languages like Python skyrocketing in popularity.
Because it's like the perfect tool for the job, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I've heard Python's great for beginners, but what makes it the go-to for something as complex as AI?
Well, it's not just about being easy to learn, although that definitely helps. Python's got these incredible libraries like TensorFlow, which is basically a powerhouse for building AI algorithms.
Okay.
Think about the complex math involved in teaching a computer to think like a human.
Yeah.
TensorFlow makes that whole process way more manageable.
Wow.
And then there's Pandas for data analysis, which is essential for AI because you need to be able to process massive amounts of data to train these algorithms.
So it's this combination of user-friendliness and powerful tools that makes Python so uniquely suited for AI development.
Exactly.
So if someone's listening and thinking, I want to build the next generation of self-driving cars, Python is their golden ticket.
It's definitely a strong contender, yes.
Wow.
But even if AI isn't your thing, this trend toward automation and data analysis is impacting nearly every field.
Okay.
Think about finance, healthcare, even marketing.
Oh, wow.
So understanding those trends can help you choose a language that aligns with your interests and where the job market is heading.
Okay, so it's not just about picking the most popular language. It's about understanding the why behind the hype and how it connects to the real world.
Exactly.
Now let's get to the main event, the top languages themselves.
Okay.
Our article highlights 5. Python, JavaScript, Java, C++, and Go. But I'm curious, beyond just listing them, what makes each one stand out like their own unique personality?
Yeah.
Let's start with JavaScript. I know it's used for websites, but what else makes it special?
What's fascinating about JavaScript is that it started as the language for making websites interactive.
Yeah.
Adding those cool animations or dynamic elements.
Right.
But it's evolved way beyond that now with frameworks like React Native. You can use JavaScript to build mobile apps that work seamlessly on both Android and iOS.
Oh, wow.
So it's incredibly versatile and in high demand across a huge range of platforms.
So it's like the multi-tool of programming languages. You can build almost anything with it.
You could say that, yes.
All right, that's pretty impressive. So what about Java? I hear it's been around forever. Does that mean it's outdated?
Not at all.
Okay.
Think of Java as the reliable workhorse of the programming world.
Okay.
It's been powering mission-critical systems for decades.
Wow.
Think banking systems, large-scale enterprise applications, even your Android phone. And that longevity speaks volumes about its stability and security.
Okay.
It's not going anywhere anytime soon.
So even though it's been around for a while, it's still super relevant, especially for those large-scale, high-stakes applications where you can't afford any glitches.
Exactly.
Okay, let's switch gears a bit. What about C++? It sounds intimidating, like something only hardcore programmers use.
C++ does have a reputation for being more complex.
Yeah.
But it's also incredibly powerful.
Okay.
Think about applications where performance is absolutely critical. Things like game development, where every millisecond counts to create smooth gameplay and realistic graphics.
Oh, wow.
C++ gives developers a level of control over hardware and memory management that other languages just don't offer.
So for those who dream of building the next Fortnite or creating immersive virtual reality experiences, C++ is the key.
It's definitely a top contender in that space, yes.
All right. I'm starting to see how each language has its own strengths and specialties. What about Go or Golang? That one seems to be gaining a lot of traction lately. What's all the hype about?
Go is Google's creation.
Okay.
And it was designed with the future of the internet in mind.
Mm-hmm.
Think cloud computing, massive scalability,
Okay.
and handling huge amounts of data simultaneously.
Wow.
That's where Go excels.
Mm-hmm.
It's known for its efficiency and speed, especially when it comes to building applications that need to handle a ton of traffic and requests.
So if you're interested in the back-end infrastructure of the internet, the behind-the-scenes magic that makes everything work, Go is the language to learn.
Absolutely.
Right.
And we're seeing it being adopted by a lot of startups and tech companies that are building the next generation of web applications and services.
Yeah. Okay, so we've got Python for AI JavaScript for its versatility, Java for its reliability, C++ for its performance, and Go for its cloud capabilities. Mm-hmm. That's a pretty impressive lineup. But before we move on to the emerging languages, I have to ask, how do you even choose where to start?
Right.
It feels a bit like choosing your Hogwarts house,
Uh-huh.
but with potentially career-altering consequences.
It's a good analogy,
Yeah,
and it's definitely a decision worth careful consideration.
right.
The good news is you don't have to choose just one language for life.
Oh, okay.
It's more about finding the right language for your first steps into the world of programming.
So how do you make that initial choice? What are the key factors to consider?
Well, first think about your interests.
Okay.
What kind of problems do you want to solve?
Mm-hmm.
What kind of applications do you dream of building?
Right.
Once you have a general direction, you can start researching which languages are best suited for those goals.
That makes sense. So it's not just about what's popular, it's about what aligns with your passions and aspirations. Right. And then, of course, there's the job market to consider, right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Do some research on job postings in your area.
Mm-hmm.
See what languages are in high demand.
Okay.
Look at the skills and qualifications companies are looking for.
Right.
This can give you valuable insights into which languages are most likely to lead to job opportunities.
Okay, so we've got aligning with your interests, researching the job market. Any other crucial factors to keep in mind?
We'll be realistic about your learning curve.
Okay.
Some languages are more beginner-friendly than others.
Right.
Python, for example, is often recommended for beginners because it's relatively easy to learn and its syntax is very readable.
Mm-hmm.
C++, on the other hand, is known to be more challenging.
Yeah.
But it also offers a deeper level of control and understanding of how software interacts with hardware.
So choose your first language strategically, something that will keep you motivated and engaged as you learn the fundamentals of programming.
Exactly.
Okay.
And remember, there are tons of resources available to help you learn, from online courses and tutorials to communities of developers who are happy to share their knowledge and support.
All right, that's super helpful. I'm feeling a lot less overwhelmed already.
Good.
So we've covered the why, the what, and the how of choosing a programming language.
Mm-hmm.
But like any good adventure, there are always hidden paths and undiscovered treasures.
That's right.
So in part 2, we're going to venture into the realm of emerging languages, those up-and-coming contenders that could be the game changers of tomorrow.
Think of it as exploring the uncharted territories of the programming world.
Exactly. Welcome back to our deep dive into the world of programming languages. In part 1, we talked about the forces that shape tech trends, the unique personalities of the top 5 languages, and how to choose the right one for your coding journey.
We covered a lot of ground, but the landscape of programming is constantly evolving.
Exactly, and that's what makes this so exciting. There's always something new to discover, and today we're going to venture off the beaten path and explore some of those uncharted territories. We're talking about the emerging languages, those up-and-comers that are making waves and could potentially reshape the tech landscape.
Think of it as investing in the future of programming. Just like a savvy investor keeps an eye on emerging markets, we want to give you a glimpse into the languages that could become the next big thing.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Let's start with Rust. I've heard whispers about it being super secure and fast, but what exactly is it used for?
Rust is all about building rock-solid software, the kind of applications where a single error could have catastrophic consequences. Think about operating systems, the foundation of our computers, or the software that controls self-driving cars, where a bug could literally mean life or death. Rust is designed to prevent those kinds of errors by enforcing strict rules about memory management and data handling.
So it's like a safety net for programmers, making sure they don't accidentally introduce vulnerabilities or create code that's prone to crashing.
Exactly. And what's really fascinating is that Rust achieves this level of safety without sacrificing performance. It's known for being incredibly fast and efficient, which makes it even more appealing for those high-stakes applications.
It sounds like Rust is a game changer, especially as we become more reliant on software that needs to be both ultra-secure and lightning fast.
It's definitely a language worth watching. And speaking of game changers, let's talk about Kotlin. This one's Google's favorite for Android development, and for good reason.
I remember we touched on Kotlin briefly in part 1, but let's dive a little deeper. What makes it so special for Android development?
Kotlin is designed to be more concise and expressive than Java, which has been the traditional language for Android development for years. It's all about writing cleaner, more readable code, which makes it easier for developers to build and maintain complex Android applications. But it's not just about aesthetics. Kotlin also introduces features that can dramatically improve the quality and stability of Android apps. Things like null safety, which helps prevent those annoying app crashes we've all experienced.
So it's like taking the best of Java and adding a sprinkle of modern magic to make Android development smoother and more robust.
That's a great way to put it. And because Kotlin is fully interoperable with Java developers, can gradually introduce it into their existing projects without having to rewrite everything from scratch.
That's super practical. So if someone's listening and thinking, I want to build the next viral Android app, Kotlin should be at the top of their list.
It's definitely a strong contender, especially with Google's backing and the growing community of Kotlin developers.
All right, we've talked about Rust for its security and performance, Kotlin for its Android prowess. Now let's move on to TypeScript. I hear it's like JavaScript's superpowered sibling, is that right?
That's a great analogy. TypeScript is essentially JavaScript with added superpowers.
Yeah.
It's what we call a superset of JavaScript, which means it includes all the features of JavaScript, but adds some extra tools and capabilities to make it even more powerful, especially when it comes to building large, complex web applications.
So what kind of superpowers are we talking about?
Well, one of TypeScript's biggest strengths is its static typing system. Now, this might sound a bit technical, but essentially it means that TypeScript can catch errors in your code before you even run it, saving you a ton of time and headaches during the development process.
So it's like having a spell checker for your code, making sure everything is grammatically correct before you hit send.
Exactly. And this becomes even more important when you're working on large projects with multiple developers, because it helps ensure that everyone is writing code that's consistent and compatible.
So TypeScript is like the conductor of an orchestra, making sure all the instruments are playing in harmony.
You could say that, yes. It brings order and structure to the sometimes chaotic world of JavaScript development, especially for large-scale projects.
This is incredible. I'm starting to see how these emerging languages are pushing the boundaries of what's possible in the world of programming. It's like they're addressing the challenges and complexities of building software in this ever-evolving technological landscape.
And that's precisely what makes them so exciting. They represent the future of software development, and they're being adopted by companies at the forefront of innovation.
This is all incredibly fascinating, but I'm also feeling a bit overwhelmed. We've covered so much ground, from the top 5 languages to these amazing emerging contenders. It's hard to know where to even begin. I can imagine our listeners are feeling the same way.
I understand. It's like stepping into a vast library filled with books on every subject imaginable. You might feel tempted to read them all, but the key is to start with one book, one chapter, one page at a time.
So how do we help our listeners choose that first page, that first step on their coding journey?
Well, in part 3, we're going to shift gears and talk about the practical side of things, which are some valuable resources and tips for getting started with programming no matter which language you choose.
Sounds like a plan. We'll equip our listeners with the tools and knowledge they need to embark on their coding adventures. So stay tuned for part 3 of our deep dive, where we'll demystify the process of learning to code and empower you to take those first steps. We'll see you there. Welcome back to the final part of our deep dive into the world of programming languages. We've explored the trends shaping the industry, the unique strengths of the top contenders, and even ventured into the exciting realm of emerging languages.
We've covered a lot of theoretical ground, but now it's time to get practical.
Exactly. Because at the end of the day, it's not just about knowing which languages exist. It's about actually using them to build things, to solve problems, to bring your ideas to life.
Absolutely.
And that's what we're going to focus on in this final part.
Okay.
We want to equip you with the tools and resources you need to embark on your coding journey, no matter which language you choose.
Think of this as your starter kit for becoming a programmer.
I love that. So let's start with the basics. What are some of the most effective ways to learn a programming language?
Yeah. Because let's be honest, it can feel a bit overwhelming at first.
It definitely can. But the good news is there are more resources available today than ever before, and many of them are completely free. One of the most popular approaches is interactive online learning platforms.
Okay.
Websites like Codecademy, Khan Academy, and FreeCodeCamp offer structured courses that guide you through the fundamentals of programming in a hands-on way.
I've heard great things about those platforms. They're kind of like having a virtual coding tutor, right?
Exactly. They break down complex concepts into bite-sized lessons, provide interactive exercises to test your understanding, and even offer projects to help you apply what you've learned in a practical way. And many of these platforms have gamified elements like points and badges to keep you motivated and engaged.
That's so cool. It takes the intimidation factor out of learning to code and makes it feel more like a game.
What about for people who prefer a more visual learning style? Are there resources that cater to them?
Absolutely. Video tutorials have become incredibly popular for learning programming. Platforms like YouTube and Udemy are filled with channels dedicated to teaching coding concepts in a clear and engaging way.
Okay, so if someone's a visual learner, where should they start? Any specific channels you'd recommend?
If you're interested in web development, Traversy Media is a fantastic channel. He covers a wide range of technologies from HTML and CSS to JavaScript frameworks like React. His tutorials are well-paced, easy to follow, and he does a great job of explaining complex concepts in a way that makes sense.
And what about for other languages like Python or Java?
For Python, I highly recommend the NetNinja. His tutorials are incredibly comprehensive, covering everything from the basics to more advanced topics like machine learning and web development with Django. And for Java, Derek Bonos is a great resource. His videos are very concise and to the point, perfect if you want to learn the essentials quickly.
Okay, so we've got interactive platforms and video tutorials. Any other approaches worth mentioning?
Well, don't underestimate the power of books. While they might seem old school in today's digital world, books can provide a deep and comprehensive understanding of programming concepts.
I am a big fan of books myself. They offer a different kind of depth and focus that you don't always get from online resources. Any recommendations for our listeners who are bibliophiles at heart?
Absolutely. If you're learning Python Crash Course by Eric Mathis is a fantastic starting point. It's well-written, engaging, and covers a wide range of topics from the basics to building simple games and web applications. For JavaScript, Eloquent JavaScript by Marian Haverbeek is a classic. It's a beautifully written book that not only teaches you JavaScript, but also helps you develop a deeper understanding of programming principles in general.
Those sound like great resources. And for Java?
For Java, I recommend Head First Java by Kathy Sierra and Bert Bates. It's a really fun and engaging book that uses a unique visual style to make learning Java more intuitive and enjoyable.
It's amazing how many resources are out there and in so many different formats. It's really about finding what works best for your learning style. But here's the thing, no matter how many books you read or tutorials you watch, the real learning happens when you start applying what you've learned.
Absolutely. The key is to get your hands dirty, to start writing code, to experiment, to make mistakes, and to learn from those mistakes.
So what's the best way to start putting those coding skills into practice?
Projects.
Okay.
Start with something small and manageable, something that excites you.
Yeah.
It could be building a simple website, creating a basic calculator app, or even just writing a program that solves a specific problem you're facing.
That's such great advice. And don't be afraid to get creative. The beauty of programming is that you can build almost anything you can imagine.
Exactly. And as you gain confidence, you can gradually tackle more challenging projects. The key is to keep practicing, to keep learning, and to never stop challenging yourself.
And remember, you don't have to go it alone on this journey. There's a vast and welcoming community of programmers out there who are happy to help and support you along the way.
Online communities like Stack Overflow, Reddit, and Discord are great places to connect with other programmers. Ask questions, share your code, and get feedback from more experienced developers.
It's like having a global network of coding buddies to help you through those inevitable moments of frustration and confusion. And attending local meetups or online events can be a great way to connect with other programmers in person, to learn from their experiences, and to get inspired by new ideas.
The coding community is incredibly supportive and welcoming. Don't hesitate to reach out and ask for help when you need it.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into the world of programming languages, we want to leave you with a final thought. Remember that question we posed earlier about becoming a language learner, someone who can adapt and pick up new skills as needed?
That's the key to thriving in the ever-evolving world of technology. The languages we've discussed today are just a starting point. New languages will emerge. Existing languages will evolve, and the skills that are in demand will continue to change.
So the most valuable skill you can develop is the ability to learn to adapt to embrace new technologies and to never stop exploring.
The world of programming is a constant adventure. Embrace the challenge, stay curious, and never stop learning.
And that's a wrap on our deep dive into the world of programming languages for 2024. We hope you found it informative, inspiring, and empowering.
Remember, no matter what language you choose, you're stepping into a world of endless possibilities. Happy coding.